Welcome to another episode of the Modern Hotelier, Hospitality's most engaged podcast. We're excited to bring this episode of Hospitality Hot Topics, what happened in the industry the past month in May. This episode, we are joined by Tom Luersen, the president of CoralTree Hospitality. Thanks for joining us, Tom. How are we doing today?
Thanks, Steve. Great to see you guys again and glad to be on the show. Thank you.
Awesome. So to kick it off, we had quite a few partnerships and changes that happened more on the tech landscape of hospitality. We are now able to book hotels through TikTok. Uber partnered with Expedia and Muse as well. And Airbnb added hotels and car rentals to their platform. Tom, what do you think about kind of these partnerships and how it's going to affect hotels specifically?
Yeah, I think they are already seeing signs of change and consolidation. I mean, we all have seen consolidation, but not necessarily in the consumer tech side of things. So if you think about where, in particular, the Uber announcement, that change has been impacted by, 10 years ago, there was only Uber and they were on fire. Look what's happened. And you can actually run them parallel to the Airbnbs of the world, all driven by leisure technology, the leisure customer base. And now I think in a consequence of trying to find ways to be more innovative on market share, these industries are partnering together. In our world at Coral Tree and in the hotel side of hospitality, I think we see these as more distribution channels. Um, there's positives with that, is that if you have adaptability in your marketing and your strategies and you can get to that consumer base, that's a positive thing. Conversely, one can argue about what does that do to pricing power, consolidation, the revenue management component. But I just believe now with the advent of more technology and probably at least in our lifetime now, the most innovative technology in front of us with AI, we're going to see more of this together where resources, intellectual resources coming together that ultimately impacts travel is going to impact us. So key message for us is stay attentive, right? When they said in old baseball talk when I was growing up, keep your head on a swivel. So you keep your head on a swivel here, meaning see what's coming around you. Um, Try some things. I look at it as it's inevitable. I think we're going to see more of these. Let's watch what's happening with airlines. Let's watch what's happening with the rental car agencies. All those um, access points to the consumer that gets ultimately to the hotel or to the restaurant. That's the game we're going to play in. So for now, I'm going to see it as positive in something we're going to embrace. And then we're going to find ourselves as we are now, figuring out how to talk to that customer base. We're changing our marketing strategies, some of our tactical deployments, and going straight to that consumer.
Yeah, I think, the Uber, Expedia, Airbnb with hotels, they already had acquired Hotels Tonight and just rent-a-cars. That to me all makes sense. I think the one that was the most interesting to me was the notion of booking hotels through TikTok and kind of the social media channels and how are hotels gonna adapt to that and making sure they've got the right content and they're leveraging that to make sure, because again, it always, I know we're gonna hit on it later, it's always for the independents, how can they leverage these platforms and not let the OTAs just gobble up that space? So
Right.
you don't want it to be where TikTok's just only you can only book Expedia, only book booking.com. So I think to me that was the most interesting one and seeing how hotels can start to embrace, as we talk about a lot, video content and things of that nature to help drive that direct booking. So and another one that I guess we probably aren't surprised, but Spirit Airlines ceases operations, and so um, I don't know if that makes any of us sad. But Steve, what are your thoughts on Spirit Airlines going out of business?
Yeah, I mean, if you would have asked me, is Spirit Airlines going to make it through the year? I would say that's probably up in the air. No pun intended there. But they did try to merge with Frontier, and hearing this, you're right, it wasn't a big surprise. But It kind of makes me a little nervous about the airline industry, and I'm kind of doing a little reading between the lines here, but we had Allegiant, they completed a merger with Sun Country Airlines. That was like $1.5 billion. And then the United CEO talked about potentially merging with American last month. So it seems like the airline industry with the high oil prices and, you know, maybe with the change of travel, I don't know kind of if this is a foreshadowing of how the airlines are gonna be. Are we gonna see more mergers? Are we gonna see, maybe less competition out there? I'm not a big fan of less competition for the airlines. I think that's just gonna raise prices. But no, this didn't really surprise me. It's more of kind of a wait and see what happens with kind of these airlines. I know I booked a plane ticket to San Antonio from Denver, and it was $700, which is much higher than I've ever paid in the past. So, I guess we'll see. Even with gas prices being higher, are people going to opt in for more driving or even trains if you're more on the East Coast? But Spirit was definitely one of those economy flights. So, I guess we'll see. Tom, what do you think about this?
Yeah, gosh, it's what's that old saying? The more you want to understand what the future is, study the past.
Yeah,
And I think about this. You know, Steve, you may be a little younger than you will remember this, but little airlines called Eastern Airlines or TWA, and I mean Piedmont's. There've been so much consolidation in this industry. The key volume to the business of airline is volume. They need volume. Their price margin is small, but if they can sell in big quantities, cash flows from those businesses survive, and many of them are driven largely by labor and uncontrollable expenses. It's serendipitous today that here we are in an increasing world where oil prices and gas prices are being spiked, at least in the moment. History tells us that that's going to change and cycle itself out, and perhaps in a positive way it will. I think in the end, what's interesting here is that it's the low cost segment of the airline industry that's being impacted. You already brought up Allegiant. Obviously, now that with the change with Spirit, they were telegraphing they couldn't survive. So that was of no surprise to the industry or to the marketplace. I think what will happen next. This is one of those moments. I don't think, and again, I respect. Here we are in an industry of employees. Tens of thousands of employees got laid off or had to find jobs. So I'm respectful of their circumstances, but I don't think that we're going to see a big change here. I don't think there's a lasting. We're going to see a little bit of a price increase now, and that's expected. That's just kind of fundamental revenue management, supply and demand. The supply has been reduced, so demand's going to go up, and someone's going to benefit from that. But then it's going to make them compete more. The current airlines are going to have to compete more for what is now going to be a more narrow segment. It's going to be more middle class airline ticket purchases than where we're segmented at low class, middle class, and upper class. It's going to be segmented. So to me, that's going to give us some price leveraging. So I don't think from our standpoint it's going to be a big change. I think you're going to see some retiering. You saw earlier, a year ago, where some of the airlines, started introducing first class where they didn't have it before.
Right,
I think you might see another segment. It'd be in hotel talk. If you take that parallel, it'd be like having standard rooms and just suites.
right.
So now they're going to go from standard rooms to kings to deluxe to suite. You're gonna see price leveraging there because that little nuance is gonna be, yielding profitability and the demand's gonna stay there. So and, in the moment of downtime, you're gonna see more travel on the roads, which for our business on the independent side or markets that feed off key MLS markets, a couple 100 miles out, that's gonna be a positive thing too. So I just think this cycle's been there before. I feel for the employees. I wish our oil and gas prices weren't where they are today, but expect all that will, change for a positive here over a short period of time.
Yeah, Tom, I like that. History always repeats itself, right? And tier retiering, I think you're absolutely right. I don't know if you saw Delta's new planes that they unveiled, but the first class is twice as large as their previous planes. So who knows if we're going to get a super, super duper first class coming up in the next couple of years.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. So this was an interesting article that came out about Americans cutting costs, but they're not cutting their travel plans this year. The Bank of America's summer travel outlook showed that three-fourths of Americans are planning a trip this summer. 10% are canceling because of gas prices. 30% are not making any changes at all, or sorry, 20% are not making any changes at all, and then 70% are making some changes, but not canceling their plans this summer. Tom, what do you think about this, and what have you seen at CoralTree?
Yeah, I love this trend. Right? It's for those that are trying to be, destinations that, create experiences for people. Our demographics are shifting, the greatest wealth and population in a demographic, and this baby boomer is starting to change wealth. The up and coming 25-year-old to 35-year-old is first to say today, they want a house, a roof, they need a vehicle to get to work, and some of them that doesn't need to be their own vehicle, and then they want experiences. So, it doesn't surprise me. Clearly, um, some of the impacts of our country and the global economy has had some impact on discretionary spending. But the fact that we are seeing demographics where the leisure travel, in particular, wants to go to places where they can have new experiences and really have something that creates memories. That I love that because it forces us, right? Us being the owners and operators of these hotels and resorts and other venues, it sharpens our experience. It means that people are going to continue to come there. When they come, their expectations are going to be high because their economies are a little bit tighter at home, but they have prioritized that experiential travel money. So it makes us provide a better product. Then it makes us tell our stories better. So, in my particular world, I focus a little bit more on the independent side, and it gives us a little bit more latitude to create very customized, unique experiences. So I think we're going to keep seeing it. I'm a, grandfather to 7 grandbabies, which means I have 3 adult children, all married, and they're all in their 30s. And I'm watching their own lifestyles, and there's a small microcosm of how I think our, at least, US economy is going, is that they might, be tight at home on a few of their, household expenses. They're going to save that money and apply it into our travel experience where their children, my grandchildren, can learn and they can have memories as a family. And, I love that. I just think it's going to continue. And I think we're going to see these destinations, each business model is going to continue to find their one or two unique things that drives a customer to their business. And those properties that are just, pardon the term, but vanilla, non-memorable, they're gonna either step up the game or they're gonna have to go to a different niche. So for us, I love the challenge.
Yeah, not a lot of vanilla properties in the CoralTree portfolio.
Thank you.
David, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, kind of plain and simple is that, you know, the summer is the time you travel. Growing up as a kid, I think I don't ever remember us canceling going down to the shore. I know some people go to the lake or what have you, and I don't ever remember, being on vacation and, in Ocean City, New Jersey, and the boardwalk being empty and nobody was traveling and nobody was going out and nobody was eating and nobody's doing any of these things. So I think that, I think that's kind of what we hear. I think we've been doing this long enough, Steve, and we've been seeing these reports. And I think the one thing that it always shows is that people maybe might be maybe a little bit of a smaller trip, or maybe they're a little more conscious of the, maybe eating out as much because of the gas prices. But people are going to travel, and summertimes when people travel, and like you said, Tom, you're a grandfather now. I know in my family, like, I use the example Ocean City, New Jersey, generation after generation after generation. It was just like that's what you're doing that summer. You're going down the shore. It doesn't really surprise me. So I think but it is a good sign that there aren't people that aren't going to travel.
Right.
Yeah. And so one of the things, You hit on it very early, Tom, and we hit on it every single week at every single conference. AI and how hotel executives are preparing for the AI to change the booking journey and the way people are doing things. I mean, obviously, um, we were just John and I were just in Mexico City for the direct booking summit, and there was workshops, and I was interviewing people and talking to people that said, "I can't believe it. I just built an app by myself using AI for doing a rate comparison for my property in Mexico and things of that nature." So we'll start with you, Steve. But how do you think AI is going to, and maybe just it's going to change, but how's it going to change the booking journey?
Yeah, I mean, I use it. I used to go to Expedia and look at hotels where what city I was gonna be at, and now I punched into AI and ChatGPT knows who I am. So it's kinda giving it knows I like to stay independent. It's not gonna list brands, maybe a soft brand, but I use it and I like it. Selfishly, with the podcast, I love it. Keith Pierce from Sonesta made a point which I think is big for us. It is AI agents are actually going to scrape content such as content from podcasts, press releases, local news, websites, and other PR content, and then suggest those hotels to the people that are looking. And it's also going to create a much more personalized experience because AI knows who you are, what experiences you're looking for. Are you looking for just a couples trip, or do you have kids? Your AI agent already knows all that stuff, and it also knows like what's important to you. So I love that it's incorporating podcasts into the booking journey, but I think it's going to create a more personalized experience for those people who are looking for and who are a little bit more selective at the types of hotels or even destinations that they're looking to stay at. Tom, as a hotel executive yourself, what do you think about this?
Yeah, you said it so well. I mean, look, we're already changing all the way that we go about doing our own personal lifestyles. And, whether it's booking airlines or the way we're shopping, most of us aren't going to the browser of choice for the last 2 decades. It's no longer let's go to Google or, go to Chrome or something else. It's should we go to Perplexity? Should we go to Copilot? Should we go to Claude? What should we do? And where do we get, information? I think what changes the journey, while I appreciate what AI does, remember, it's an aggregator and it's a machine learning. Well, what is it aggregating? It's aggregating data. So
Mhm.
data is king. And so what this is going to allow us to do is to be more agile, move faster. The things that we would have to do to analyze our data so that we could talk to the right guest experience. Think about it now going on in sports, use that as an easy metaphor. The NBA playoffs or the National Hockey League playoffs, they don't know where their next games are gonna be over the next 7 games because it's in playoff season. If we could use that as an illustration of data that says, let's go back and see, give me the top 2 percentile of people that have gone into that sport and are willing to buy a ticket at $500 and travel less than 1,000 miles. You could pull that data up before our podcast ended today and have data in front of us. So the key here, in my opinion, and it's what I'm asking our team is my metaphor internally is hurry up and fail, meaning that I want us to go in and try things and talk to a customer using the data and the preferences that we're getting from the sweeping of data that comes with AI. And then let's go shift our marketing strategies, right? Let's instead of doing mass marketing, let's do target marketing. Let's do preferential marketing, which means I'm interested in those that love to watch the Avalanche here in Denver play hockey. Then let's find down that audience down to the hundreds of thousands, those that are willing to travel, let's narrow it down, and then let's go talk to that customer directly. That's what excites me. I think it's all right in front of us. But my view here is that we get in early. We don't become typically in hospitality, in my experience, we've been late adopters. And we kind of especially if you're smaller, you wait for the big brand, the giants who have R&D departments to go out, try some things, and then you learn from them. Here, I think it's a time to reverse that, is to take us who can move quickly and talk to the customer, learn all that data and go apply it. And what we're doing now, there's one thing I'd bet my famous $1 bet on, which is whatever we do today in 6 months from now is going to be different and in 12 months from now. But the key is we're not going to watch. We're going to go do it. And if we fail, we'll fail, but we'll learn from that. And it's going to change the way a guest finds us. It's going to change the experience, the way a reservationist or now soon to be agents or agentic behavior can take that place and make it a better experience. It's going to be phenomenal. I'm so excited about it.
I
And
agree.
Tom, I feel like you do a really good you and CoralTree do a really good job of kind of showing the personalization of each of your hotels and kind of their different personalities. Do you have any advice for other hoteliers out there on kind of how they can stay ahead of this AI curve?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's the same answer. Just read your data. Our industry is so phenomenal about having points of data, whether it's in a restaurant at points of sale, it's credit cards and demographics from that. We have it all, but I'm always flabbergasted by people who say, "Gosh, I just wish I knew more." I'm like, "Well, do you study that? Do you look at it?" And they look at me as if I had three heads and didn't know that exists. So to me, I just think it's a matter of applying that and knowing what your story is. The guest tells you what they love. I always say this in marketing, don't believe that your brand leaders are going to create the brand. What's going to happen is our customers are going to tell us what our brand is. If they like adventure, if they like great culinary delights, we're going to find that out by the data they tell us. Then we'll see if we deliver it. So properties in our businesses focus in on what does the customer really want and what do they enjoy, and then let's go tell that story over and over to them again and create new ones in that same specific category. Again, using the data so we don't sit in speculative spaces. The old idea of noodles against the wall, and those are just ideas. We've got so much data in front of us now. We just got to leverage it.
So, Tom, this is where you get to plug CoralTree. What's going on with CoralTree? What's new? Feel free to plug away.
Oh, thanks, Steve. I'm just really happy about what we're doing as a company. We first is we're always trying to learn, just like today's conversation, we're trying to figure out how do we continue to serve our guest. At the end of the day, I don't care if we talk about technology, we talk about travel. What hasn't changed in this industry is the guest tells us if they're going to come back or not by the experience that they have. So we're focused in on that. We are far from perfect. That's usually my favorite line to say is because it's a place, perfection's a place we're striving for. We're not there. We're just focused on trying to get better every day. I'm excited about some things we're doing. We have a new brand, Outbound. We've got our sixth property. We just reopened up this world-class property in Sedona. Sedona all by itself. The destination is one of the best experiences of the country. We just opened up this property after being closed for 12 months and renovating it and expanding it and bringing it to our new brand. Excited about that. It joins other brands in the Outbound family now, which are in great locations like Jackson Hole or Stowe, Vermont, or Mammoth, California, now Sedona. Yosemite is going to open here later in the year. So I'm excited about that. Excited about some new properties. Our wonderful unbelievable experience at Pier 66 down in Fort Lauderdale. We opened that up. It's been a little over a year now, and number one guest experience on the market, outperforming brands such as Montage and Four Seasons and Ritz Carlton, knocking it out of the park. We're doing the same thing out in St. George, Utah, Black Desert Resort, where we've been involved there for the last year. It continues to evolve, building a wonderful new water park. Also got new accommodations being built, and the market's really responding well to that experience at Black Desert. So we're continuing to focus in on the experience, our what we call RB&E, restaurant, bars, and entertainment, or you could change the E for event. It's not food and beverage, that's too stale and institutional. Ours is all about the experience, which that's a real part of our focus here. So excited about that. Every one of our markets are customized to what you know people can come and learn and live like the locals live when you're coming in from out of market to those places. That's because the food and the experiences are really curated for that, kind of component. So just excited about what we're doing, and it's always about our people. People who come to work every day trying to be better, put a smile on their face, try to make someone's experience memorable so they come back. We keep focusing in on those simple things to say, but hard things to accomplish consistently. That's where I'm really proud of what we do as a company.
And so, Tom, if people want to get in touch with you or find out more about CoralTree, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I'd say the easiest place is to go straight to our website, or now you can change the website and go to AI and just look up Coral Tree. You can see our portfolios there. You got the ability to book any of our accommodations. We're 53 hotels and resorts around the country now, and we've got another couple thousands of vacation residences and world-class places like Hawaii and Key Largo and other markets. So check those things out. It's the easiest way to find us, and then there's direct contact right through there.
Okay, great. Well, that does it for another episode of The Modern Hotelier, the most engaged podcast in hospitality. This was Hospitality Hot Topics for May. Whether you're watching or listening, we appreciate you and hope to be with you again soon. Thanks, Tom.
Great to see you all.
Thanks, Tom. You made it to the end of The Modern Hotelier. Thanks for watching or listening. The Modern Hotelier is produced by Modern Hotelier Media. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube, or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you know a good guest, sponsor, or have media needs, feel free to reach out to us at hello@themodernhotelier.com. Thanks and have a great day.